That is very true. What are you? Okay, so this is the current proposal. We can change this eventually afterwards. Look, don't worry about the economy, okay? The economy, I mean, it looks bad, but it'll honestly all be okay in the end. I'm sure of it. Okay, what's going on in the news? Okay, promising reforms. Our sources informed us that the plan is underway by the government to start drafting a reform package. Finally, we seem to have a president who pursues something significant in the early days of his term. President Rayne is already proving that he is about the right man for the job, as rumors circulate about successful talks about a future proposal in collaboration with important figures from the PFJP. The significant development that shows that this administration is listening to the will of Swedish citizens. We hope that, once the Constitution changes are approved, we will be the start of a new era for our country towards a bright future. Okay, what else we got? Sordland stands at a crossroads, with its energy sector on the verge of significant transformation. Recent forecasts from economic analysts suggest that repealing the Energy Protection Act could unlock new growth opportunities. Market trends highlight the potential benefit of granting energy companies increased access, which could lead to substantial expansion across the sector. A strategic co-investment with Rizia in Gotham also presents a promising opportunity. This partnership could attract the attention of Rumberg, aligning with Rizia's recent efforts to enhance regional economic cooperation. The potential benefits of this approach emphasize the need for government action to reassess the restrictions of the EPA and capitalize on emerging economic opportunities. I'm never going to work with Rumberg, okay? They are a hostile state. We hate those guys. Preparations underway. It is that time of year again. The largest cultural festival in the entire of Sordland, the Benfi Festival, has begun its preparations. This year's venue is picked to be the newly built Benfi High Art Center with a total capacity of 8,000 people. For those who do not have tickets can, as always, enjoy the events that span the whole city. Especially after the recent events, we can't wait for 4 days of panels, theater plays, exhibitions, and music. I did choose the planned economy route, but I'm going to try to be a little bit more, a little bit more like a mixed economy, if possible. Okay. Vice President Victorin reported that, alongside with Lucien Gallade, the committee has started working on the written aspects of the package as per the needs outlined previously. They should soon get the legal team involved to complete the writing process. The needed 150 signatures for the proposal are started to be collected within the USP. Meeting on the Energy Protection Act of 32, and dinner with business council members. Well, let's go with the Protection Act first. As the morning sun streamed through the windows of the presidential office, an imminent meeting loomed on my agenda. In a quarter of an hour, I was set to discuss the Energy Protection Act of 1932 with Ministers Graf, Hall, and Wischke. Also, my audio is a little bit quiet. I can't tell, but if someone in chat could let me know. The recent aberration of the Grand National Assembly, coupled with the ongoing dialogues with Gotham, has only served to amplify the discourse surrounding the legislation. I was sipping my morning coffee and enjoying a quiet moment of solitude when David arrived, characteristically early. I am really orange. I think it's I think my curtains are a little orange, so I think that's why. Very good morning to you, Mr. President. I trust I'm not imposing by arriving ahead of schedule. Oh, of course not, David. On the contrary, we got now a few minutes to strategize for the meeting. I'm relieved to hear that, Anton. I depart earlier from my appointments nowadays, as the stairs of the Capitol have become more of a challenge than I would like to admit. It's fine. Excellent. So to be ashamed of. The stairs that we're battling, Rune District. Let's just offer him some coffee or tea. I've already had my tea today. As for my doctor's advice, she suggests chamomile in the morning and sage tea in the evening for optimal health. Listening to the doctor does bring me some comfort. It feels as though my throat has been refreshed thanks to her. His gaze drifted, locking onto something beyond the window. A colossal zeppelin traversing the sky above the Rune District. For a fleeting moment, it blotted out the sun before gently veering to the left, letting light flood into the office once more. I still remember the first airships in Sordland. We purchased them from Quinal after the war, during the birth of what Sol called the Second Republic. Our infrastructure lay in ruins, and those zeppelins offered a much-needed lifeline. the chance to traverse and rebuild, and then, thanks to our research council's diligent efforts, we started manufacturing our own Sword. We should have more blimps. I think blimps are neat. Did you know there's only like, there's like, what, 12 in the whole world, apparently? Like, somehow there's only like 10 or like 15 blimps on Earth. It doesn't seem right. Now I think about it, I don't think I've ever actually seen a blimp. Was truly a turning point. You know what? Do you think we might have leaned too heavily on Zeppelins for our transportation needs? Perhaps we should have invested more in rebuilding our roads and railways. I mean, at the time, the destroyed roads, bridges, and all made air travel the more suitable option. But now I am glad that your presidency is focused on building up our infrastructure. Our reliance on others was temporary, a stepping stone towards the self-sufficiency that we achieved with the National Autocracy Plan. Even though it had downsides, I still consider it a success. A pause fell over the room. David's gaze landed on the portrait of Tarkin Sol hanging in the presidential office. His eyes lingered on the stern face of the old leader. A sigh escaped his lips. Now, when I think of the EPA, my mind is carried on back to the formative years of the post-Civil War Hearthsword in the 1930s. The debates, the passion, the potential for transformation. It was a time of renewed optimism. It was our duty now to learn from the past and strive for a better future. What applied back then won't apply now. Okay. Pardons the armed rebels. You know, it was tough back then. Blackouts, ruined infrastructure, unemployment, gangs. It was a challenging period, yes, but we persevered together as a nation. I do not agree with all the measures enacted by the technocrat governments of that era, but some were undeniably effective. In the end, it took a collective effort to reassemble our nation's fragmented pieces, and I'm sure you remember those dark days yourself. I know you were just a student at Deere University of Culture, witnessing what true oppression feels like. It was a difficult period. You know what? They shaped me, and they continue to form my decisions as president. The minorities of the nation have suffered particularly. David turned towards a large framed portrait of his father, Artur Sanochki Wishki, hanging on the wall. Painted with a rich, warm hues, it captured the first president of Sordland in his prime. The spark of determination gleamed in his eyes, and his mouth was set in a gentle, firm smile, a reflection of his belief in a better future for our country. Okay. You know what? Sordland would not be the same without your father. Yes, my father's leadership laid the foundation for the Sordland that we knew. His policies were aimed at building a secular and democratic state where every citizen's rights were protected. I believe in a Sordland with that was modern and forward-looking. Everything that he did was aimed at fostering progress, even his controversial embrace of foreign ideologies. He looked back at the portrait with a mix of pride and sadness. In a way, Tarkin Sol did carry on my father's legacy. Under his leadership, we transitioned from a military government to a civilian one, and experienced our first multi-party election. But over time, he drifted away from the ideals of reform and the progress that my father held so dear. His visionary zeal succumbed to the more pragmatic, the more conservative, and sometimes even regressive dictates of political survival. Okay. You know what? I'll keep listening. I'll have you can keep chatting. Alfonso, for all his flaws, did seek to set the nation down a path of progress, with his focus on free market and economic liberalization. His EPA amendments, for example, were a severe departure from Sol's National Autarky Plan. But many praised the way that it opened a door for unprecedented foreign investment in our energy economy. Okay, we have so many options. You know what, do you think the EPA still holds relevance today? Or do you think we should consider a complete overhaul? I mean, the EPA has its roots in a different era. While some of its principles may still hold, we must not shy away from revising it in the light of our current needs and challenges. Just as the conversation hit a pause, the door swung open and one of the other ministers arrived. Simon Hall entered with a confident stride. Good morning, Mr. President. David, I trust the discussion is progressing well. Liz followed closely behind. She walked in with an air of calm authority, her gaze sweeping across the room. Gentlemen, I hope I'm not interrupting anything crucial. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all here. Has been important discussions on the agenda today, particularly concerning the EPA. Okay. I look forward to hear everybody's perspectives. Today we have an opportunity to shape the economic strategy of Sordland for decades to come. The EPA is long stood as a key contention and debate point of the National Autarky Plan. This matter was a discussion of how Sordland sees itself and how we position ourselves in the world. Our nation was taking a very different economic approach in the last 4 decades. The President's decision to foster a planned economy provides us with significant insight into our policy direction. Should we decide to increase the EPA threshold to 49% or to eliminate it entirely, it could spark an influx of foreign investment. Given our current economic predicament, this would be a significant boost. A planned economy does not necessarily mean restricting foreign investment. Just about how judicious management and control, ensuring that our nation's interests are always at the forefront. Okay. Present a compelling argument, Linus. I've always admired your devotion to Sordland, Laius. You have nation's interest at heart. You know what? I've always admired your devotion to Sordland, Laius. Or Lilius? It's clear that you have our nation's best interest at heart. I appreciate your kind words, Mr. President. It's our shared dedication to Sordland that drives us. Mr. President, Lilius, shall we return to the subject of the EPA? Our current version of the EPA dates back to 1949. President Alfonso's amendment raised the cap of foreign investment in storage energy to 20%. In my view, it is a necessary step to attract foreign investment and to stimulate our economy. We must remember that Sordland was facing an economic crisis during his tenure, and these changes provided a lifeline for energy industries. I mean, it's still like not great. I mean, it says danger, which is not good. Choking the growth. But did the increased foreign ownership actually lead to substantial economic growth? While the increase of foreign ownership alone didn't lead to a drastic upturn in economic growth, it did have a positive effect. It facilitated foreign investment and provided our industries with a much-needed capital. The effects of such a policy changes often take time to manifest, but they lay the groundwork for future economic development. The Assembly has spoken on the matter, and it is as it stands. The Energy Protection Act of 1932 will not be repealed. It's clear that our colleagues have recognized the potential risk of exposing our energy sector to foreign ownership. While it doesn't end the debate, it does underline the importance of respecting our Assembly's decision. Okay. We go straight to the decision of the Assembly. This would be a very funny thing to say if I have not already vetoed like 2 different laws that they've tried to pass. Decision's been made. But we'll still advocate. I think that seems like a reasonable thing to say. I respect the decision of the Assembly, Lelius. However, we mustn't allow this setback to deter us from exploring our other options. The global landscape is ever evolving, and we must adapt accordingly. It's also important to remember that the Assembly's decision is not the final word. There is room for further legislative efforts and executive initiatives. When it comes to the EPA, I believe that we should increase the threshold of foreign investment. In fact, my preference would be to remove the threshold entirely. This would undoubtedly strengthen energy institutions, such as Gulfstream and Swordfish Petroleum. You know, we've seen Riz's interest in the former, and I know Lesby has some eyes on the latter for some time. This is precisely what I'm worried about. We have to remember that we're dealing with national security as well as economics. Reverting to the sole era 10% limit or keeping the law as it is would be a safer approach. We cannot risk having our energy infrastructure falling into foreign hands, especially not to Rumberg. I see the merits of both your arguments. Yes, we need to protect our national security, but we also need to consider economic implications. Perhaps a mixed approach would be best. What if we increase the limit to 49%, thereby attracting foreign investment while maintaining storage control over critical energy sectors? I mean, that 49% seems like, it seems reasonable. Worst case scenarios. How would it affect energy price in Sordland? How does it affect the everyday citizen? With increased foreign investment, we could potentially see a decrease in energy prices. But we should also consider that potential impact on job security and national control of our energy sector. Change in the EPA could lead to increased energy prices, as foreign entities could manipulate the market. And with increased competition and foreign investment, we could see a decrease in energy prices. The more players in the market, the more competitive the prices will be. Considering potential foreign buyers, what's the worst case scenario? If they gain control over our hydroelectric, gas, and oil sectors. Think about it, Mr. President. If any of those countries, especially Roomberg, gain control of the energy sector, they could cut off power at any moment. We would be also forced to comply with any decisions that made regarding prices or environmental measures. There's no denying the potential risk of foreign buyers getting control over critical sectors. If we increase the foreign ownership threshold to 49%, we could attract more investments while mitigating those risks. While we may see entities such as Quenelle, Rizia, and Raqqa, Roomberg, and Lesbia as potential threats, it's also crucial that we see them as potential partners. Scenarios Lelis mentioned are possible, of course, but think about the economic growth and international relations that could be fostered. If we aim to deal more closely with Lesbia, for example, I very much doubt they'll settle for a mere 49% energy investment. How would it change our impact of Gosum, which we could sell to any entity under the Rise laws? I believe you already know the answer to this, Mr. President. Gosum could fall under foreign control, just like any other energy corporation. On the other hand, foreign investment will result in increased resources flowing to Gosum and its ilk. And those resources could be channeled into further development of our energy sector. Yes, Gosum could potentially sell to anyone, but wouldn't that be a show of our strength and the attractiveness of our energy sector on the global stage? Lalis, what do you got to say about the potential national security risk? The national security risks are significant. Foreign entities could use their stake in our energy sector as leverage in diplomatic or energy negotiations. National security risks are always a concern when discussing foreign ownership. That is why it's critical to have a thorough vetting and monitoring process in place. And don't forget about the importance of economic security. In a globalized world, economic strength can be just as crucial as military strength. But yes, it's essential to maintain strict oversight and regulations to ensure national interests aren't being compromised. Okay, let's proceed. Given the turbulent economic landscape, maintaining the status quo of the EPA could offer us stability. We are already open to foreign investments at a 20% threshold. Change percentage may introduce unexpected challenges and could complicate our foreign relations. I firmly believe in our sovereignty and strength of our nation. Returning to the threshold of 10%, as it was under the Sol era, could protect us from undue foreign influence and ensure that our energy sector remains in Sordish hands. And while I maintain that increasing foreign investment could significantly stimulate the economy, an increase of 49% could be a balanced compromise, signaling to the world that Sordland is open to business while retaining majority control of our assets. But some partners, particularly the ATO countries, might regard it as insufficient. We must consider the far-reaching implications of our actions, especially in light of our recent dealings in Gosum. Mr. President, your decision to position Sordland as the sole Gosum investor certainly gives us more control over the gas sector. But it has increased our potential financial burden significantly. We must review our fiscal policy. I mean, I like David. Or David. You know, I think the 49% seems like a decent, choice. Administration needs to protect the jobs. I have little interest beyond that. Future of gas industry lies in our hands. Nationalizing the key industries. I mean, I honestly don't know which one to choose here. Let's say, we're going to make our resources work for the Sordish people. Simon meticulously adjusts his glasses. Considering we're investing heavily in Gosum, our decision about the EPA will greatly impact the attractiveness of the remaining shares of foreign investors. If a reduction in the EPA could pave a way for potential profits from shares, whereas total removal might invite an unprecedented rush for the remaining 45%. Our investment in Gosum reinforces Sordland's sovereignty. However, altering the EPA may dilute that sovereignty. I caution against drastic changes that may leave us vulnerable to foreign influence. We must maintain control over our energy sector at all cost. One sec, someone is trying to I gotta figure it. I don't know there's any way to get rid of the bots that are trying to sell me viewers. Okay. I don't want to remove the EPA. The question is, and I don't want to reduce it. The question is, if we keep it the same, or do we raise it up to this 49%? I think we maybe increase it to 49%. By increasing the foreign ownership threshold to 49%, we're opening up more opportunities for foreign investment. And this could improve the value of our 30% stake in Gulsum. Raising the threshold to 49% could increase Gulsum's value, and by extension, the value of our 30% stake. But we don't want to lose control over the company. A 49% threshold could increase the value of our stake without losing risk of control. Increasing the EPA to 49% opens up a new avenue of trade, but we will have to ensure our national interests are not compromised. They're really giving us a lot of options here, aren't they? Consider long-term impact of our decisions. Might bring in money now and then lose it later. Did you guys know in like Chicago that apparently in like 2007 or 2008 they sold all the parking meters to like the UAE for like $1 billion? And since then, and it's like a 99-year lease. There's something interesting that I read about. And that's more about like an immediate $1 billion versus, you know, $250,000 or $250 million every year for like 100 years or something like that. We can revert it later, but it can destroy the company. I mean, a phased approach. Our priority should be balancing the need for economic growth with maintaining national sovereignty. Perhaps a phased approach to increase foreign ownership could be an answer. I would say we're covering the implications of your EPA decision fairly thoroughly, Mr. President, and our actions should be guided by the best interests of our nations. Mr. President, it's time to make a decision. What will we do about the EPA? I think we'll increase the threshold to 49%. It'll increase foreign investment while still giving us majority control. A balanced approach will serve us well. This here, on this stream, this is a centrist stream, okay? This will attract significant foreign investment, substantial increase, and I fear we're opening ourselves up too much. The door opened, door to the room opened. Livia Suno carried a tray laden with the assortment of beverages. She was a little clumsy as she maneuvered around the room, refilling cups and glasses with tea, coffee, and water. Excuse me, gentlemen and madame. I didn't mean to interrupt. Would you like to what would you like to drink, Mr. President? You know what? I'll have a lovely tea. Very well, Mr. President. Here's your tea. Livia finished serving the beverages and retreated towards the door. She glanced around the room one last time before quietly backing out. The meeting resumed, and our conversation grows slightly louder over the clink of glasses and cups. While we are here, I'll inform you all that I've been lending my expertise to Minister Benawal in relation to the Workers' Right Bill. I believe it's crucial to ensure fair treatment for our workforce, and it's nearing presentation. I mean, your collaboration is commendable. Excessive regulation. Yeah, let's bring a positive change to the workforce. It's a step towards a more humane economic system. I share your sentiments, Mr. President. However, we must be careful to avoid encouraging anti-business tendencies. I concur, Mr. President. Ensuring the rights of our workers is paramount, although we must be cautious about any hidden agendas. Anyway, I have been working on an upcoming term budget meeting and a proposal for the business taxation changes. Significantly, we are considering a range of 10% tax changes from small business enterprises and large corporations. This could be a significant move for our economic landscape. Such taxation approach could increase and invigorate our economy. Doesn't burden our SMEs, which I'm assuming is that small and medium enterprises. Let's just say we got to be careful, okay? Your caution is well placed, Mr. President. As a proponent of global trade and economic cooperation, I believe we should be cautious about imposing excessive taxes on businesses. And in light of the economic challenges that we face, increasing taxation could prove a much-needed revenue to support crucial public services and social welfare programs. As the ministers rose from their seats, a late morning light spilled into the room through the ornate windows. It seemed to signal the conclusion of the meeting. Okay. Our work is our legacy. Let's make sure it is one that Sordland can be proud of. Thank you for your decision. I'll continue working on our priorities. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you in the next term budget meeting. And until next time, dear colleagues, take care and see you soon. I'll be right back